A hot and heavy start to Bengals training camp 2023. Mike Petraglia outside Paycor Stadium and right across the street from the Kettering Health practice fields, where on a 90-degree heat index day, Bengals training camp got underway. It was a longer than anticipated practice. This one was supposed to be about 90 minutes to start training camp, and it actually turned out to be closer to 2 hours and 10 minutes before Evan McPherson hit 6 field goals to end practice. The big highlight of training camp practice here on Wednesday afternoon was the first scuffle. Only 3 plays, practice plays into 11-on-11 scrimmage. A scuffle broke out between Orlando Brown Jr. and Trey Hendrickson. As we all know, Trey Hendrickson has a bit of a temper. He's a bit of an intense football player, and he showed it here on Wednesday, and certainly the two might have renewed acquaintances from the AFC Championship when Hendrickson went up against the Pro Bowl left tackle for the then Kansas City Chiefs when he was playing for him. But now Orlando Brown and Trey Hendrickson share stripes, so it was interesting to note that intensity on the first day of training camp practice. Joe Burrow afterwards, he held his first press conference of training camp, said it usually doesn't take very long for those type of fights to break out, and that was the case here on Wednesday afternoon. But full disclosure, it really wasn't a fight. It was a little bit of a pushing and shoving, some yelling back and forth, trash talking. Even Joe Burrow was trash talked here on Wednesday, he admitted after practice, but nothing really came of it. But the intensity is here. And one thing that Joe Burrow talked about at length here on Wednesday afternoon after the practice was the commitment and the urgency this team has shown from OTAs through minicamp to this very first day of training camp practice. It has a different feel. There's an urgency to everything everybody is doing. Even Zach Taylor, in his press conference here on Wednesday, alluded to the very same thing, that these guys are ready to go, fired out of the gun, ready to go from the start of training camp. There's no question about that. It was interesting to hear both Joe Burrow and head coach Zach Taylor make reference to that. It was full attendance here on a very hot and humid day, except for one player, and that was Drew Chrisman, the punter, of course, battling for his job here in training camp. It was not in attendance. Zach Taylor saying that he was hospitalized with an unspecified ailment. He didn't expect it to be very long in terms of the seriousness or extensive, but they did not want to get into the details. Drew Chrisman was not here at practice. Again, he was hospitalized with an undisclosed ailment. Bengals will be back here at it again on Thursday afternoon. If you're wondering about the Joe Burrow contract situation, Burrow said he'll only talk about that when it is finalized. He'll let the financial details work themselves out. In the meantime, his focus is entirely on football. As for the practice itself, Burrow said he felt very, very good. He was on time, he said, with all of his throws. And it was interesting to note that from Joe Burrow, saying that he felt confident to start training camp practice. Obviously, there's an expectation from Joe Burrow himself and for the rest of the team that the execution has to be at another level to start this season if they want to get off to the start that they want to get off to and fight for home field advantage from the very start of the season. They don't want to fall into an 0-2 hole like they did last year, 4-4 after 8 games. I think there's an urgency, and that was fully on display here on day one of training camp 2023. For full details of what happened here on Wednesday, go to clnsmedia.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter for all of the videos and locker room insight from Wednesday and on-field observations, of course. Follow me on Twitter at Trags, Trags, and be sure to comment on the link below, subscribe, and click on the link below for all of your comments, good, bad, and indifferent. Outside Paycor Stadium, Mike Petraglia, CLNS Media.